Oh my goodness. I am so excited right now. I'm so excited. Alright, I think we're ready to rock and roll. After like forever of pulling it together. Jesus. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Miss Catherine Simone. Happy Thursday. What's new in your lives? What's going down on your side of town? What are you doing? What's new? I will tell you what's new with me. The first thing that's new with me is that I just completed 3 books. I just read 6. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time. I think that as a millennial, books are kind of something that's been thrown to the wayside for most of us. As a child, I loved reading so much, and I think once I got to high school, I kind of didn't really like to read as much as I used to, and it started to shift. It turned from me reading for pleasure, reading as a leisure activity, and then it turned into, then you get assigned to read things that you don't find interesting at all. That kind of started for me in high school. I started getting assigned readings that I was not interested in all, and that same thing happened in college. So I kind of like lost my love for reading, and my goal after leaving college was I want to start reading again. I want to pick up books that I enjoy. I still want to learn. I still want to read. I still want to educate myself, but I want to have fun with it, and that's how reading should be. Reading should be fun, and I know that in this day and age, we are just stuck to the screens, whether that's our phone screen, our tablet screens, our computer screens, our screens at work, us watching TV. There are just screens everywhere. So it's kind of nice to pick up a book and have a different kind of entertainment that's not a screen. At least for me personally. I wanted to do the last 3 books I read because, one, I feel like if I did just one last book I read, it would be a super detailed video, and I just wanted to give y'all the last 3 books I've read just to kind of give you some either recommendations or some inspiration to pick up a really cool book. Let me show you the last 3 books I read. This is going to be a mini series on my channel, so every time I read 3 books, I'm going to talk about them, and I don't really read really fast. Like I said, I read as a leisure activity. So I see one of these videos like 2 or 3 times a year. It just really depends on how fast I read these books. So the first book that I've completed was called To Selena with Love. If you're a Selena fan, you will love this book without a doubt. This book to me was so important. I wanted to read this book for years. I believe it came out in 2012. It was written by Perez, which was Selena's husband. If you don't know who Selena is, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't know who she is. She's kind of a big deal. Selena was a entertainer, singer, performer, fashion designer, just an all-around great human being. She was known best for her Tejano style music, and she was a huge influence in the Latin community. She was shot in 1995 by her manager. A few years after that, they came out with a movie. It was like a biopic of her life, and in the movie they have a surface level portrayal of what her relationship with her husband was like. This book could literally be a movie on its own. Chris, as her husband, was probably one of the most closest people to Selena, so it was so nice to read personal stories, hear his thoughts, learn more about what Selena was like in a personal setting. I just felt like this book was a sacred text, and there were some pages that I reread more than once because I wanted to soak everything in like a sponge. I'm a huge Selena fan, and I love this book so much. I would recommend this book to anyone who's a Selena fan. And this book I think is perfect for all ages. A 9-year-old could pick up this book. A 27-year-old could pick up this book. A 38, 20, whoever. Anybody could pick up this book if you're a Selena fan. You're going to enjoy it. The love that Selena and Chris had for each other was so pure, so genuine, so sincere, and it just kind of gives you hope that there's a Chris Perez out there waiting for you. It's cool too because this also has photos in it of like Chris and Selena, and just look at her. She's getting it. From the time they met to the time that she passed, from everything in between, how he dealt with it afterwards. I loved everything about this book. I didn't want to put it down. This is a good book, especially if you don't like reading. This is something worth reading. The font isn't too big. It's only 291 pages. Oh my god, on the last page it says, Selena, the last sentence, it says, Selena, I'm still dreaming of you. Next book, this book is called A Woman's Called by Evelyn Johnson Taylor. This woman is a minister and she wrote this book. This book is definitely a little bit more religious based, so if you are not as necessarily a religious person, but if you believe in God, if you're a Christian, that kind of thing, I think this would be a really good book for you. Or even if you just kind of want some direction and you're okay with God being sprinkled in there, or actually being, being in there a lot. God is mentioned a lot in this book. I read this book because I was just kind of going through something in my life. If we're going to keep it real with y'all, I didn't get my dream job. I didn't get the job that I really wanted after college. And I was really depressed and I didn't know what to do. So I thought after I read this Selena book, I should read A Woman's Call. It says living a life of purpose. So I thought, okay, I need to find my purpose. I need to figure out what my purpose is, what I'm supposed to be doing. And my auntie got it signed for me by the author, and it says, Catherine, God's plan is a good plan. I agree. The chapters are like, know your worth, called by God, single, wife, mother, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm not a wife. I'm not a mother. I'm not really interested in being a minister at this point in time. I'm not really interested in being a wife or a mother at this point in time, or really any of that stuff. But it was really interesting to read about what singlehood can do for me as a woman, and even though I'm not a wife or I'm not a mother, it was interesting to kind of read into it and get an idea of not what motherhood and what being a wife is like, but I guess the challenges that come with it, and when you are a parent, how important that is, how huge of a responsibility that is. After I read this book, I had more of an idea of like, being a parent is a huge responsibility. Being a wife is a huge responsibility. I was really going through something and I just kind of turned to God because I had nowhere else to turn to. I just didn't know what to do. So I read this book and I really appreciated this book because at the end of each chapter there was a prayer at the end. There was a ton of scripture in this book. Tons of different cool passages from the Bible. So it just kind of gave me a sense of hope, a sense of peace. I will be honest though, I really was into the book until probably after the chapter on, like, I think it was motherhood. Yeah, after motherhood, I was kind of like, eh. The chapters after that were about ministry, entrepreneurship, servanthood, just certain things in my life that I'm not there yet, I don't think, and I don't think I'm there yet for being a wife or a mother, but I just thought it was really interesting. And if you're a wife or a mother, something that I thought was so interesting that she said in this book was that she said, if your husband is doing something that's basically pissing you off, that don't tell him that he's making you mad, that you need to tell God, like, hey, he ain't doing the dishes and I'm tired of asking him, can you help me, kind of thing. And so I kind of put the book down. I wanted to keep reading it because I'm a Taurus and I feel like I have to be loyal to things. But I talked to Ashley a while about it and she was like, no, if you're tired of reading a book and it's not fun anymore, you have to put it down or else you're not going to get anything out of it. So I did really, really love this book, but I think once it was kind of past things that were above my head, or did pick it up again just to kind of like give it another chance. And I did read about entrepreneurship and I did really like that. I did appreciate that. It said that you really need to connect with yourself and with God to find your purpose. And whether you believe in God or not, we all kind of have to find our purpose in life. We're all here for a reason. Whether she talks about in this book that if you don't find your purpose, you're just kind of living an empty life. Are you really enjoying your life if you're not being fulfilled? And I've learned that too. If you're not living a life that's fulfilling to you, it's not a fun life. I would definitely recommend this book to women, people who identify as women, wives, mothers, people who are interested in going into entrepreneurship, ministry, people who need to know what their worth is, people who maybe grew up with a church background and got away from it. It's not a bad book. It's a pretty good book. So the third book that I read, for the last 3 books I read, was called Kardashian Dynasty. If you check out my candle time video, I did mention this book at the end, and I did say that I would be doing a video with this book in it eventually, soon. This book, first and foremost, let me just say that I'm a Kardashian fan, okay? And when it comes to the Kardashians, either you love them or you hate them. I love them. I've been watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians since it started, and that show started when I was in, I think, 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember. I was 13, 14 years old. Can't really remember, but I'm 22 now. So either way, I kind of grew up watching the Kardashians. I am emotionally invested in their lives, and I genuinely care about this family. This book starts all the way in Armenia and talks about how the Kardashian ancestors came to America, to the United States, and why. Then it kind of talks about their father, Robert Kardashian, because he plays a really key role in how the Kardashians even became who they are. And then it just kind of, it gives you a step-by-step of how everything happened. It even talked a lot about Paris Hilton, how Kardashian followed in Paris Hilton's footsteps. And I'm also a huge Paris Hilton fan, so I thought that part was so interesting. This book also has pictures too. I love a book with pictures, okay? This book is a start to finish on the Kardashian Dynasty, on how they just came, not from nothing, but they turned a sex tape into a billion-dollar brand. Kris Jenner is such a businesswoman. Like, I used to think it was just Kim is such a businesswoman, and she is. She totally is. But Kris Jenner, she's next level. If you want to know more about the Kardashians, how they got their start, know the story from start to finish. Well, this doesn't really get to finish. The only thing about this book is it was published, I believe, in 2015. So the last really kind of big events from that was recorded in this book was when Bruce Jenner made the transition to Caitlyn Jenner, and I can't remember, and I just finished it yesterday. Gosh. The last really key big story that was from this book was when Lamar almost lost his life. Nothing in here about like Black China and Rob Kardashian. There's nothing in here about Kim's, ordeal in Paris. There's really nothing about that because this book came out in 2015. But this book is really great. It's definitely a front to end biography of the Kardashians. And this book, I love the Kardashians, but now I kind of see them in a different light because I see how they really made it to fame and how some things were a little shady, but I guess that's Hollywood. I guess if you really want to make it, you got to do things sometimes that are not always aligned with your values. And I thought this was a really great book just because I love the Kardashians. And the cool thing about all 3 of these books is all 3 of these books were actually gifts to me. These were all given to me. So if you ever want to give me a gift, give me a book. I would recommend the Kardashian Dynasty book to anyone who is a Kardashian fan, anybody who wants to learn more about the Kardashians. Say you're not really familiar with the Kardashians, you want to learn a little bit more. I want to challenge you all to read a book sometime. I know that if you're a college student, reading books does not sound appealing at all whatsoever. I totally get it. If you ever have the opportunity to pick up a book, I highly suggest it. Highly suggest it. There's something about reading a book that's just so different than, scrolling through your social media or watching Netflix. It's a different kind of technology. Let me know what you all think about this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think that I should just do one book at a time to really go into detail about it, because I have no idea how long this book is going to be, because I think I talked quite a bit about each book, but I just wanted to give you all like a good brief synopsis of what it's about, if I liked it, if I didn't like it, because I want to give y'all good suggestions, good reviews, because I want y'all to read too. Hope y'all have a great Thursday, and I hope you find a great book to read. And if you do find a really great book to read, link it down below so other people can find it too. If you've read any 3 of these books, let me know what you thought about those books as well.